Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. This is Leading Off Live, brought to you by PrizePicks. Sign up for PrizePicks today with the promo code Leading Off. When you do, it's me, Joey P. Joe Pizzapia. No, that's not the Welsh. So I just want everybody to know that, of course, is the Wonky Penguin joining us today, Kelly Kirby. So it's great that Kelly jumped in last minute. That's why she's such an incredible team player. Look at you. What's it like to get called up to the big leagues and having no idea that it's going to happen?
It's kind of surprising. I called my parents. I told them that I got called up. I get to talk to Joe. It's just taken off. So I'm here
I
for it.
know it's going in the opposite direction for you. I wish, I'm sad that, you had to talk to me for a half hour, but I'm grateful that you're here. We've got a lot of baseball to get to, and we're going to get it all down for you. Let's start with, it seems like the rumors are building, some cryptic Instagram posts, which is how everything happens nowadays. Who's following who and stops following this person who tweets something. But it seems like Elly De La Cruz might be getting his call up as well, not just Kelly Kirby this week, sooner than later. Now, this is very exciting. Cruz has been absolutely spectacular in AAA. We were hoping he would get the call, and then it was Matt McClain. We've been waiting and waiting. Kelly, do you think there's any fire where this smoke is when it comes to De La Cruz, and should everyone be adding him because he is still available in more than half of leagues right now?
Well, having watched my Cubs get swept by them over the weekend, I'm not sure if they need more firepower, but it would make sense for them to call him up. I mean, what do they have to lose? And yeah, I think you should go get him. I mean, Twitter's never wrong, but
Never. Yeah.
ever. But usually when things start kind of talking like this, I feel like there's something to it when it comes to prospects. So I'd pick him up somewhere.
Yeah, I would too. It certainly seems like it's moving that direction. But if you're obviously, if you're listening to the show, you probably added him already. You're one of those 40% of people that already have him. Good weekend for Aaron Judge, and yesterday as well, a Memorial Day. Not one, but two homers. So Aaron Judge continues to be Aaron Judge. Corey Seager, 2 for 5 with a 3-run blast. So good days for him. But Kelly, it seems like the last couple of days dominated by the rookies. So we got to get into the rookie Lookie because Nolan Jones got called up. Now, Nolan Jones was a player that, I've been talking about too, that really has nothing left to prove at AAA. Of course, then they sat him after playing him a couple days ago. I don't know what the hell they're doing there, but he was slashing 356, 481, 711 with 12 homers, 5 steals. I know it's the PCL, but when you look at this Rockies lineup, Kelly, it stinks. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has not been a good lineup all year. So in your opinion, do you think Nolan Jones is worth picking up because they really got nothing to lose by starting this kid every day?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would make sense to pick him up and give him a shot because, like you said, I mean, I don't know how much he's going to help with everybody around him, but he on his own, I mean, he might be worth it if you need somebody.
Yeah. And what do you think of Bobby Miller, too? Another great performance by him. He's got a 1.64 ERA now, a 0.91 whip. He's got 9 Ks, 2 walks in his first 11 innings. So, look, it's, we're kind of looking at Bobby Miller now. Everyone was talking about Stone and Gavin Stone for the Dodgers, but it seems like Bobby Miller has been the guy so far that has kind of at least solidified a little bit of, dare I say, job security, because it just feels like between Urias working his way back and the back end of this Dodger rotation that we've always been harping about all year and warning people about, that maybe Bobby Miller might be the answer. I guess the question is, do you think he's the long-term answer or just a short-term answer? Because the Dodgers have bigger aspirations for September and obviously October.
I think he might be a long-term option for them. And like you said, the back end of the rotation's been so messed up and weird. And I'm not an Urias person. So
me neither.
I mean, at all. I'm regretting a little bit that I picked up when I had the choice between Miller and Stone that I grabbed Stone, but I'll get over it, I think. So.
Will you? Is there like a support group for that, or?
I can start one if anybody would. I mean, I think there should be pitching support groups everywhere right now. So
that's probably a good idea. Yes, I support that support group. So I don't know if there's a support group to support that support group, but we'll figure that out. Also, Royce Lewis, who we were speculating last week, who actually made the waiver wire video last week. So if you haven't already subscribed to Fantasy Pros MLB on the YouTube side, I don't know, what else, you're doing with your time, but we talked about Royce Lewis, when that was going to be up in terms of his IL stint obligation that he had. And now it's up, and now so is he. You also had, I think it was Max Kepler go on the IL there. And like, this is a thing where you're looking at the Twins. Twins are at the top in terms of pitching in Major League Baseball in all those categories you could possibly imagine, ERA, whip, all that stuff. They're down towards the bottom in terms of offense, and they've got to figure something out because they've just got too much swing and miss for them. So I guess the question is, Royce Lewis, exceptional athlete, a guy that can play different positions for you, can play the infield, can play the outfield. Do you think Royce Lewis is now everyday player for Minnesota rest of season, or do you think he is just part of a rotation potentially with the Twins?
Well, I didn't understand why they were like fighting the news that when they sent Miranda down, I thought for sure they were going to, I figured Lewis was going to play third. So, and they were like, no, he's shortstop, but then he comes up and plays third. So I think that he could be a long-term part as long as he doesn't, I don't think his glove's going to cost them anything at third. I also wouldn't be surprised maybe later if Correa and he switch places.
Yeah.
Because if Correa could become a poor man's Alex Rodriguez. Like a very poor man's.
The poorest of the poor. Carlos Correa is definitely one of those guys that, when I first saw him when he was 18 years old when he got drafted, I felt like, okay, this guy's going to be a franchise player. And maybe it is, as he got older, sometimes people don't, grow into the bodies the way we think they're going to. Sometimes injuries do take their toll. And it seems like Correa is just, one of those guys that's destined to never live up to what he could have been, which is sad for him. But only to a degree because he's making millions of dollars. So I'm not that sad. Like, I don't need a support group for that. Taj Bradley was charged with 1 run, a no earned, by the way, in 5 2/3 yesterday against the Cubs. So far, looking at the bigger picture, I know everyone was worried about Taj Bradley, but 3.60 ERA, 1.07 whip, 42 strikeouts to 5 walks over 30 innings. Now, that's what I want to talk about here when it comes to Taj Bradley, because everybody was hyperventilating, going crazy when we got to the point where, he gets sent back down, and that's very frustrating. And then you get an opportunity where he looks terrible down in AAA for a couple starts, and he comes back and he kind of looks like the same guy. So what's your temperature on Taj Bradley? I mean, because the K to walk ratio is something that we all would be striving for, and he looks great in that regard. The Rays are still at the top of the American League. So are you getting comfortable now with throwing him out there, not just matchups, but actually throwing him out there on a regular basis as a starting pitcher?
Oh, I think for sure. I mean, I'm surprised. I think there should be an adjusted ERA when you play the Cubs. Like, yep. So your ERA is now negative something. But with him being consistent, I don't really care what happened in AAA. I feel like that was just kind of the bounce rule, and maybe he was trying to figure out, like, maybe he really was stressed about going from a 6-day to 5-day. He wasn't. But yeah, when he came back up, I think I would start him against anybody at this point. And he's going to get the run support most of the time. And so he could definitely have some win equity as well.
All right. Let's continue on here. Logan Allen, another rookie looking to talk about. Career high 10 strikeouts over 7 shutout innings on Monday. Another terrific performance for him. He's got an ERA of 2.72. The whip is at 1.31, 4-1 K walk ratio, 43 strikeouts, in 39 2/3 innings. So between Bybee pitching well, Logan Allen pitching well, this is another thing where I think you're frustrated if you are Cleveland. Maybe you're frustrated if you just play in the AL Central, because the Twins can pitch and can't hit. The Guardians seem like they're starting to pitch better. They can't hit. They've been terrible. So I don't know. What are your thoughts here when it comes to what to do with the Cleveland Guardians? Because collectively, this seems like we're all just looking around each other, trying to figure it out. What's going on? What's happening? Is it time to invest because they've been so bad offensively? Like, Jose Ramirez has been okay, but nobody else has done anything around him. So where are you at with the Guardians right now overall when it comes to fantasy?
Well, I have Josh Naylor. I kind of went after him because his expected stats still say that he's got a lot of potential and that he should be doing better than what he is. But I was looking at DFS yesterday and I couldn't come up with, there's no one else in that lineup that I'm really looking at getting on my teams. Rosario and Kwan maybe in strikeout leagues, but otherwise it's Ramirez and then Naylor if you're a little desperate. But the pitchers, I think that, again, I wouldn't have any trouble even with the balanced schedule. I think anybody who gets to play the AL Central teams ever is worth streaming against. So,
well, I just did a big segment on Sunday on Sports Grid about where the teams are collectively right now, like the teams that, in terms of they're crushing it offensively, crushing it with pitching, the teams that are surprisingly bad offensively. Cleveland was one of those surprisingly bad teams. The Astros, another one of those surprisingly bad offensive teams. And I don't want to blame all of it on Jose Abreu, who, by the way, has a negative WAR. I just saw that. Did you know that? Like,
I did not know
negative
that.
WAR. I just saw that right before we came on. This is why social media is still around, because you get little things like this. I think he's at -1 is what it said. And I just thought, man, that's depressing. Like, how can that be? How can we be a negative war when it comes to Jose Abreu? But let's get to the injuries here. Harrison Bader undergoing MRI on the hamstring, so we'll see what comes of that. Max Muncy is expected to return to the Dodger lineup. I think he pulled that hamstring doing victory laps on me after me kind of giving him crap for the first 2 weeks of the season being awful. But, he'll heal up. I won't, but he will. Braves recalled Mike Soroka. Are you adding Soroka? Is this an ad for you? I know he pitches for the Braves. He's not a big strikeout artist. Is he like a hard pass for you? What do you think?
He's a hard pass for me. And I'm so excited that I get to be here with you on the day after Paul Blackburn debuted. So
I know.
I thought the Soroka Blackburn matchup was like, that's the worst Joey P matchup in the history of the world. And I don't want either of them on my team. So
I didn't even see, because yesterday it was, first day, finally we could swim in the pool with the kids. Sunday night was Taylor Swift concert. So,
right.
Monday was kind of the hangover day from Taylor Swift. I was singing about my feelings, for 3.5 hours, which I got to tell you, she was great. It was a great show. Phoebe Bridgers opened. She was terrific. If you don't know who she is, go listen to her stuff. She's terrific. But my kids, obviously, my daughter's just, a fantastic evening. It was beautiful, magical, all that stuff. But there was a girl behind us who I think is probably somewhere 16, 17 years old, maybe 18, 19. I don't know. She's somewhere in that range. And she was having a lot of feelings during the show. She was screaming. And I mean, at the top of her lungs intensely, almost as if it were like a Metallica concert or like a Judas Priest concert. But she was doing it in ballads, which was really confusing to me. Like ballads that were more like very tender kind of thing. And she's screaming and like as loud as she can. It was weird. It was fun. Have you been to the Taylor Swift ever? No?
I have not, but I do consider myself a Swiftie for the most part.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a little too old. I didn't like hit that middle, I was like,
no, you're not.
30.
You're never too old to be a Swiftie. I don't think
But,
if I'm not too old, you're certainly not, Kelly. Come on.
Right. But that's my thing. Like her stuff is universal. Who hasn't felt what she felt? And if you don't feel it, just go to a concert and listen to the 16-year-old behind you scream sad songs. It sounds
sad
perfect,
ballads really. As though it were like death metal. Like the intensity level was almost, I was a little afraid. I was like, security was close. That was good. But a magical night was had by all. I will tell you that. I like the Folklore album. That's my jam. But anyway, Liam Hendricks is back. So that's good news. Cedric Mullins is not. He's going to undergo further testing after being removed yesterday. He's got a groin strain. Those are always tricky. So expect him to go on the IL. Expect him to miss a fair amount of time. We're talking, weeks to month, I would imagine, when it comes to the groin strain. And Mullins is kind of another frustrating dude. Because he was, I think, one of these recent buy lows that a lot of people just made trades for. And that's always the worst, right? Like you see a guy underperforming that you like the player, you make the trade for the player, and then the player gets hurt. So this is a real kick in the pants there on that one. Lars Nootbaar was removed from Monday's game with back spasms. That's probably why Welsh isn't here today, because he's running to give a massage to Lars Nootbaar. Welsh is okay, everybody. We just had a technical hiccup here today. Just joking. Pete Fairbanks. This is an interesting one. Back to the IL with the hip inflammation. And a couple weeks ago, Kelly, on the waiver wire video, I was talking about, you add Adam because, just in case Fairbanks doesn't come back healthy or whatever that is. And then he came back pretty quickly and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's all right. But it turns out that actually seems like good advice. So are you going right back to the waiver wire there when it comes to another absence for Fairbanks?
First of all, I'm happy that you sound surprised that you gave good advice. But
typically, I mean, that's usually the case.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go out and get at him again. This is a team that wins a lot, and so I think the saves will be there. I trust him. I am also picturing Welsh listening to sad Taylor Swift, looking at pictures of Lars Nootbaar right now. So yeah, I'm a little distracted, but I think Adam is definitely worth the pickup.
Yeah, probably. By the way, I'm looking at Paul Blackburn's line from yesterday: 6 strikeouts. 4 innings, just saying. Yeah, Blackburn was such a funny thing last year because it's not that I liked Paul Blackburn. All that I said was, until it goes bust, just keep rolling him out there. And it wasn't like 2 starts or 4 starts. It was like 12 by the time we got to the bad Paul Blackburn. And eventually got figured out, whatever. but Mike Mayer will never let me live that down.
Nope.
But sometimes you just got to go with the flow. Lance McCullers, he has no flow. He is no longer throwing off a mound. So it's over, right? You could drop him everywhere. Like, I don't think you're going to see him this year, do you?
I didn't really understand why anyone drafted him in the first place. So
that's a good point.
So I think that, yeah, you just drop him at this point.
All right. Now, luckily for you, I have no AI machine things because it was a long weekend. So no creepy AI stuff today. We'll do that another time. But we do have the 3 up and 3 down. So Julio Rodriguez, homer, drove in 3 runs. Let's go. This will be the second half of Julio. We had 50 quiet games. We're going to have 100 loud games from Julio Rodriguez. There you go. I'm not giving up on my guy. Griffin Canning, another guy who's starting to figure it out again after kind of some shaky outings there. Last 2, much better. 9 strikeouts and 6 innings for him. And Marcus Stroman, maybe you're the right person to talk about this because I can't figure out why. 2.59 ERA, a whip under 1. He's got 62 Ks, 24 walks, and 73 innings in his first 12 starts. And this one was, against the Padres here, and then against the Rays Padres coming up just against the Rays. What do you make of this Marcus Stroman renaissance? What's he done differently where he's become such a steady presence? Because Stroman historically has always been that, 2 good starts, 2 bad starts, 1 in between kind of guy.
Yeah, I've been shocked to watch him pitch, but I kind of thought of him more as an innings eater, and that he wasn't going to necessarily hurt you, but you couldn't really, like you said, you couldn't really count on like him being a steady presence. And he's mixing in the pitches that just, they can't seem to hit it. It's like I'm not Welsh, so hang with me. But I feel like
if you start making really bad like mixed metaphors, then then we'll be the real judge of that.
I'll come up with a couple, but yeah, and I think with Barnhart has been catching him, and I feel like the 2 of them just have this system, and it's just working perfectly. So really, the absence of Wilson Contreras is the answer to this. But but overall, he seems like he's mixing pitches, and also he's got that swagger that he has, but it's lasted a lot longer than like the first 2 starts in April that he usually.
Yeah, he is a very emotional guy in the mound. I mean, watching him, even back in the Toronto days he was, but his Met days especially, he's a very emotional guy, which I think like those guys always worry me just a little bit. Intensity good, emotional, I think is a little bit more cautionary. That's the one to me that I always watch with the pitchers, because you don't want them to get too high or too low in those things. Intensity is great. Max Scherzer, very intense. Justin Verlander, very intense guys. Stroman sometimes would let the emotions get the best of him.
Right.
But whatever is going on, you're absolutely right. And now, of course, Wilson Contreras brought all of his catching problems with him to St. Louis, which I'm sure made you very happy. 3 down, Joey Gallo. Stop me if you heard this one before. 0 for 5 with 3 Ks. Luis Robert, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. And Bryce Miller finally happened. We had a bad Bryce Miller start. Of course, I put money on him this weekend for Rookie of the Year because he's at 8-1. I'm like, look, this guy's been unbelievable. But he's been historically unbelievable. So this was bound to happen. However, 4 2/3, 3 strikeouts, 11 hits, 8 earned runs. He didn't walk anybody. The 2 homers, that really what killed him. I have no concerns right now about Bryce Miller. I think this is just kind of was bound to happen, quote unquote. Some days you don't have it. Are you feeling the same way?
Absolutely, 100%. So if somebody is panicking, go, trade them Stroman.
There you go. Trade him Stroman. All right, let's get to, of course, our favorite thing to do, which is pick some prizes for today. And if you are going to pick prizes, go to PrizePicks.com and use that promo code leading off when you do to get 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, leading off, you can remember that. It's the name of the show. To me, today, I'm looking at Kyle Gibson against the Cleveland, who strikes out a ton. I'm going to go the over on the 4 strikeouts. 4 is a low number. Can you get me 5? Kyle Gibson, I have faith in you. I love when good Kyle Gibson shows up. That's one of my favorite things every year. You get the good Kyle Gibson runs. It happens every so often. Mookie Betts, 8.5 hitter fantasy score. And then you got Bryce Elder, pitcher fantasy score, 31.5. He's got a great matchup against Oakland today. I mean, they strike out a ton also. Can you get a little bit more than the normal Bryce Elder strikeout? Can you get to 5, maybe 6? I think so. Get a quality start and a win. Next thing you know, he's crushing life. Betting wise today, Kelly, I'm looking at Minnesota on the money line at -115. A lot of minuses, a lot of big juice today. Zach Gallen, 6.5 Ks, and the over at -112. I think what you do with some of these is you look for the, just double it up within the same game parlay. So you go Gallen 6.5 over and Arizona to win. You put the 2 things together and you get a little bit better number. Same thing with Elder, 2.5 earned runs. I take the under here on this one because he's been so good in that regard. It's minus 160. Put it along with Atlanta to win, and then maybe Ronald Acuna with a total base prop or something like that. So you got to kind of build it out a little bit. And then Kyle Gibson, his number is 3.5 strikeouts today over on Betting Pros, minus 148. But again, put it with Baltimore, put it with Adley Rutschman. One other thing that you think you can actually count on, I think you're in good shape. Anything catch your eye in the betting market today, Kel?
Well, I'm looking at PrizePicks currently, and there's a taco on Shane McClanahan at 5.5 strikeouts, and he's facing the Cubs. I feel like that sounds good. I also wouldn't be afraid to put money on him when getting the win. For if you were looking for like a plus money bet, that might be worth it. And then I really like Bo Bichette and Jorge Soler's hitter fantasy scores.
Jorge Soler. The guy, I mean, can't be stopped. That's another guy that from my, I have this certain infatuation with certain players. And when he came up with the Cubbies, I was like, oh man, this guy, like, I like this guy. Like he just looks like that dude, and he just always the struggles. Like he just couldn't ever put it together. I don't know. It's sometimes I'm always frustrated. I don't know if it's work ethic. I don't know if it's the mental approach to the game or whatever it is. But it always frustrates me when you see like a big, strong guy that looks like he should just absolutely just go up there and crush. And then you see moments when he does, and then all of a sudden it just bottoms out consistently. It's so frustrating. I hate it. It's like a waste. And here I am, 5'8", barely, and going, why couldn't I have been, 6'4", 220? And I worked very hard. Didn't have nearly the talent level of Jorge Soler. But the nice thing is you get to still get your favorite players with Sorare. And if you sign up today at fantasypros.com/collect, you can get officially licensed digital cards of all 30 major league teams, scout, buy, sell, and compete. Again, that's over at fantasypros.com/collect. So if you like fantasy baseball, you like cards, this is the thing for you. And when you join, make sure you join fantasypros.com/leadingoffleague as well. Now, DFS slate today is really interesting. You got some high-end pitchers, Joe Ryan at 11K, Zach Gallen at 10.7, Shane McClanahan 11.2. You kind of either go with those guys or you scale back down a little bit to Bryce Elder, who will be less rostered, I guarantee you, because some of these other big names are in that same universe. But great matchup against Oakland today for him. Or you punt and you go all the way and you look for good Kyle Gibson today at 8.9. It costs you nothing. You load up on offense and you go to town. Speaking of loading up on offense, Tampa, Atlanta, and the Dodgers today. That's where you want to load up on offense. TJ Friedl, 2.8. Jake McCarthy, just 2.4. And Miguel Vargas, 2.8. I am going with the home run call of Ronald Acuna today. So Ronald's my boy. I didn't pick the prize pick on him. It's a really high number. It's like 9.5. It's really high. If you look at the board, prime time finally got to 20. Ladies and gentlemen, prime time. Let's give it up. 20 here. Razors at 19. Doing a great job. And somebody snuck on the board here at the bottom. MT Fisheroo. Is it Fisheroo or Fisher Zero? What do you think that is, Kelly?
I would go with Mountain Fisherow.
Mountain Fisherow. Mount Fisherow? Yeah. Is that
Mount Fisherow? Sure.
Yeah. Is that where we go hiking on our Fantasy Pros trip next year?
We could absolutely do that. Yeah. Or it sounds like an opera or something.
Oh, Mount Fisherow. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I picture you, me, and Mayor just, sitting up there at the top of the mountain after a long hike, and then us pushing Mike Mayer off the top of that mountain. That's my vision for next Fantasy Pros trip.
I think it's time to see if Mayor Bear can fly. So
I agree. Give Mayor Bear wings. There you go.
We also need to have a height contest among the three of us. So
well, look, none of us are playing center anytime soon for the Celtics or the Nuggets or any other team there. Which, by the way, let's get your home run call today, because I know everybody's anxious to hear yours. And Mike Mayer, of course, wants to know if he can fly too. So there you go. So Penguin, pick a home run for me today. What do you have?
I'm going Jorge Soler against the left.
Oh, love it. There we go. Staying on brand with Jorge Soler.
100%.
Good times, everybody. Don't worry. Walsh will be back tomorrow. Everything is fine. I've been texting with him. It was one of those simple things. Those, so happens on the holiday weekends. You get off your schedule. Like, I have no idea what day it is between the Taylor Swift concert and then Memorial Day yesterday. And then my kids are off because we didn't have any snow days this year in Jersey. So now they're off Tuesday and Wednesday too. They were off Friday. I was like, why don't you just scale school back at the end of the year? I never understood this. It's like, no. We got to go to this certain date. Why? Why can't we just get out sooner when the weather's really good in June? I don't get it. Kelly, can you explain that to me? Because I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm actually from a family all teachers, and I believe that they would also be happy to quit a
Right?
little bit
Right.
sooner.
You
Everyone,
want to quit
like
early
by the middle of May, it's sort of starts to wear off. I mean, who's teaching, who's learning? We have questions, but
because you can't
and
like you can't plan anything because it just happened. Like, oh, by the way,
yeah.
here you go. Here's some extra days, and you're like, what am I
Mhm.
supposed to do with these extra days now? I'm already working. It's a
Yeah,
nonsense. That's all it is. But
I agree.
speaking of nonsense, again, Welsh will be back tomorrow. Don't worry, everybody. And a shout out to the real MVP today, the Wonky Penguin, for stepping in short notice, no prep, because she doesn't need any. She can come in
Yeah.
there and make jokes about Paul Blackburn and pick Jorge Soler and everything as well. So we'll be back again tomorrow, same time. As always, that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Penguin, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.